please let me show you how to delete your art block. You know why I want to? Because as artists, as creatives, as a human being, you're not supposed to struggle against yourself and feel like you want to create but you can't. You're supposed to be in flow, in alignment with the unlimited creative life force energy that flows through you and around you and is an inherent part of you. I struggled with my creativity for many years. I'm a visual artist. I am a creative, someone that loves to express themselves. And I'm guessing you resonate with that. So let me show you how to delete your experience of art block so you can be in harmony, in tune with your creative life force energy. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. And let's get right into it. So the first thing I wanted to address is to untangle the connection between your creative productivity and your self-worth. Going right into it, I know. If you feel called out, I'm doing it with love. It's all for the purpose of supporting you on your creative journey. So what I've observed in myself and many artists, especially since we live in a society that emphasizes profit over human lives, a lot of artists that I know, that I've observed and talked to, and also within myself, is that we tend to kind of tie our self-worth to our art. And this is a really harmful thing. It really puts a damper on your inherent joy of creativity. Because humans should, in my perspective, humans should create for the joy of it. It's just something that humans do, creating, just like bees make honey, or fish swim, or birds fly. But it's like living in this system of capitalism, of all these oppressive narratives that we're conditioned with from day one. We kind of lose that sense of knowing our own worthiness, knowing that we were born to create, knowing that the joy of creation is our birthright. And of course, there are certain acts of creation that are governmentally sanctioned and encouraged and manipulated in the populations in certain ways. I'm talking about childbirth here, but that's a whole nother topic, not for this video. So anyways, I was saying, creativity is your birthright. And you really don't want to continue equating your self-worth to your creative output. Whether that's an amount of numbers, amount of productivity, or like how good the final product looks, both are equally poisonous to your creative practice. What I encourage you to remember is that you are inherently worthy just because you're alive. Just because you are conscious being here on this planet, you are worthy of being here. And whether or not you believe me, it's true. It's just true, okay? Like, think about it. Think about like an amoeba, a single-celled organism. That amoeba knows that it's worthy of being alive. So it looks for food and it runs away from anything that could eat it. We're the same as that amoeba. We deserve to be alive. We deserve to get our needs met just because we're alive. Now, this whole mindset of my creative output equals my self-worth is this whole messed up, like gaslighty, dark, heavy energy that just gets in the way of that. Because when you know that you're worthy of being alive, when you're worthy of getting your needs met, you naturally tend towards a state of being where you are creative. And it doesn't have to be some big thing that you have to force yourself to do. It just becomes who you are. And the more that you know that you are worthy of getting your needs met, you take action to get your needs met. And that leads to a state of being where you feel resourced, where you feel whole and complete within yourself. So that you're not chasing after some kind of external marker, some number of Instagram followers or likes or awards to validate that you are worthy. And so it takes a whole lot of pressure off your creative practice and just allows your creative practice to be an avenue of energy output that feels good, that feels joyful, that feels nourishing. And it also takes the pressure off to be productive, especially if you're not resourced, if you are in need of space, if you're in need of rest, if you're in need of food, companionship, nervous system regulation. If you are in need of anything, if your cup isn't full and overflowing from which you create effortlessly and joyfully, if your cup isn't full, you tend to that. You prioritize that. And you're not stuck in a situation where you're banging your head against the desk, trying to force yourself to draw when you are really not resourced enough to do so from a place of wholeness, from a place of integrity. And by integrity, I mean that state of being where you feel grounded in yourself, where you know who you are and what you're worthy of. And you know that you don't have to prove your worth by creating a certain kind of thing that measures up to some kind of external standard, because you forgot that you are worthy exactly as you are. You don't need any kind of external validation to confirm that. And the other great thing about approaching your creative practice from this perspective, from this integrated state of being, is that you know your creative practice doesn't have to look like anything specific that's externally validated for it to be your creative practice. What I mean by that is, I feel like we kind of, as artists, we tend to kind of only view a certain subset of creative activity as counting towards being creative, when creativity is just, the definition of creativity can be expanded so much from just that narrow box, like if I don't draw a picture today, or if I don't write a song today, then I'm not being creative and I'm stuck in my art block. Creativity can be anything from choosing to take a new route home from work, or saying something that you've never said before, or even writing a sentence in your journal. All of that is your creative life force energy being channeled through your body out into the universe. So once you recognize that creativity doesn't have to look a certain way for it to be valid creativity. And you know that you're worthy of being taken care of, and that creation is an act of joy, a natural act of expression that just happens because you are you. Then it becomes a whole lot easier to feed your creative practice daily. Because this is another thing. We have many options in life, especially in this modern day fast-paced world where there's so much going on. We have so many options for what we could be doing with our time and our energy. But the important thing is to choose to feed your creative practice on a daily basis. No matter how small of a time you have with your creative practice, choose to feed it daily. Turn towards your creative practice, make it a priority, just like how you make taking care of yourself a priority. And another thing about living in the world that we do, this modern day fast-paced world with so much going on all the time and so many distractions and so many places that your attention and awareness could be leaking to, be really discerning about how you are using your creative life force energy. Be mindful of where your attention is going, where your energy is going throughout the day, where your thoughts are going. Because whatever you focus on is what grows. So do you want to focus on things that serve you, that nourish you, that feel good, your creative practice, your self-care rituals, your body, your relationships, your healthy relationships? Or do you want to pour your sacred, precious, creative life force energy into disempowering narratives about how you're never not good enough, about how XYZ artist is so much better than me, about how, why can't I make this happen? Why can't I do the thing already? And like putting a bunch of pressure on yourself and feeding that energy of pressure and pushing and forcing and rushing. Because ultimately, it's your choice of what you choose to feed with your creative life force energy. And this is a practice, of course, a practice of mindfulness, of awareness, of bringing your awareness back again and again to what matters most, and going along your journey, learning more and more about what matters to you and what makes you feel good and what you want to prioritize, because this is a very personal, individualized thing that's different for everyone. So it's important to prioritize that. It's important to prioritize your creative practice, to prioritize which direction that you want to go in the myriad of different directions that are available to you, and cultivate that relationship with yourself where you can come back to yourself and know who you are. I am someone that is worthy of being taken care of, that is worthy of creative expression just for the sake of it, and my worth is not determined by my creative output. So the last thing I want to share is to let go of resisting periods of time when your creative life force energy is at a lower level. Because winter exists for a reason. Dormancy serves a purpose. Rest is incredibly crucial, not only for forming new connections in your brain or rebuilding muscles that have been torn by strength training, but also to refresh, to recover your sense of inspiration, your connection to yourself, your creative practice. So we all go through cycles in life, and some cycles, some parts of the cycle may not be as fun or exciting as other parts of the cycle. But there are still parts of the cycle nonetheless. And no matter how much you push or force or try to convince yourself otherwise, those parts of the cycle are still there. You can't change that. That's just life. So you might as well recognize the truth for what it is. Recognize that there are periods of time when you are less active, when you are less energized, and honor that. Honor that truth, honor that reality, and act accordingly instead of fighting yourself or fighting what is. Because what you resist persists. And it's much more effective to go with the flow of what's actually happening than look away and pretend that there's something else more externally appealing that you would rather pretend is your reality. Because that doesn't really end up being too sustainable in the long run. Speaking from experience here. So I say all this with love. If you are resonating with this video and you want to explore more about this perspective, this method of relating to your creativity and your creative practice, but you're not quite sure where to start, I'm actually offering a limited number of free energetic alchemy sessions where we can explore these themes in a way that is personal to you. I'm offering these free sessions for a limited time in exchange for a testimonial. So check out the description if you're interested in that. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave me a comment and like the video if it was helpful to you so that it can reach more people. And I always love hearing from you. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you next time.